Hello and welcome. I'm Mark Metis, Vice President at HTC ViVE, where I head up enterprise software and the ViveX Accelerator. And I'm here today to talk to you about spatial computing and why we think ViveSync is the killer app for collaboration. So let's deconstruct this a little bit. We'll start with why spatial computing at all to begin with. Where is it most needed? And how can ViveSync help? So for this journey, let's go all the way back to the beginning. Let's go tens of thousands of years ago to when people drew on the walls of caves. These famous cave drawings were in 2D, and that's what was available. And it was effective enough. It told you how to survive and how to communicate that to others. It served its purpose. Yet, lo and behold, here we are tens of thousands of years later, and we're still doing the same thing. We're still staring at flat, two-dimensional drawings and hoping that that conveys the richness of the world that we're in, even though when you think about it, it's purely a compromise. And the reason this is an issue is because when you think about it, and you think about your brain and the human mind, it is fundamentally a 3D operating system. We were built to operate, interact, and collaborate in 3D. So there simply has to be a better way. There has to be a better way to interact and work with others than what we're currently doing and just compromising because 2D is what we have in front of us and we make do. But I think we also have to be a little bit humble about it and understand, hey, listen, there is a reason for 2D and its popularity. It's frictionless, it's easy to use, it's convenient. And for those reasons, we've put up with it and sometimes haven't even thought about what could be better. But as you think about the advantages that VR can bring to the table, that sense of presence, immersion, being there, body language, interaction, working with others, working with 3D models, training people. We know that people learn much better doing than just being talked at. There's a tremendous potential for VR to have a great impact. Really across the entire workflow, all of it can be brought into spatial computing, whether it's collaborating, designing, visualizing things, analyzing things, training people, or rolling it out to Salesforce and customers. And all of this is relevant because, you know, while a lot of people think about VR and entertainment, it's really mainly about business. So analyst estimates have the business market at 53 to 70% of the total market. And when you talk to business leaders, and this is from survey research, this word cloud gives qualitatively how they're thinking about it. And they're recognizing that this is an innovative way, a more effective way to work. This is the future. But beyond those nice qualitative thoughts, underlying it is some real hard metrics and key performance indicators. So when you can deliver a 5 to 10 times reduction in training costs or 10 times speed to market, those are the types of order of magnitude improvements that get people's attention. You can get richer data, you can increase sales, you can increase transaction size, or beyond ROI, if you're looking at engagement or net promoter score type measures, you find 95% of VR training users would recommend it to their colleagues. And as a result, business leaders plan to spend more on XR. About 3 in 4 leaders across a broad range of industries plan to be more aggressive in this area. But there are some challenges, so let's acknowledge those. And they're really mainly about having the right software and applications. That's what makes this useful. And it has to have the security and privacy that business demands. And for the users, it has to be easy to use. So keep those in mind as we talk about solutions. The other challenge is that VR use cases are very fragmented. So the good news is broad applications across many industries, but the challenge is a lot of different industries, each with sometimes quite different specific needs in their domain. So how to handle it? Well, one of the things that we've learned from the pandemic is that there are a lot of commonalities. The pandemic has taught us the value of interaction. And from survey data, we see that learning and training, collaboration with different stakeholders and customers and patients and others is yielding cost savings as well as revenue opportunity improvements. So collaboration and training are really the key elements that cut across all of these things, or what I like to call horizontal solutions. So here's the enterprise software stack. There's some system level support. So that's in the platform. That's where you have your security and your privacy. These horizontal applications, there are vertical applications for specific industries and even custom applications, of course, for just one company. But the real opportunity here is in this horizontal layer. So if you think about something like Zoom, in 2D, it works for any type of industry. And the opportunity here is who will be the Zoom of XR? So if you go back to that spatial computing workflow, yes, each of these areas are actually horizontal, but the ones called out in blue, those are really the center of the bullseye, because they're just about fundamental human interaction and communication. And so therein lies the really powerful opportunity. And so with that, let's introduce ViveSync. ViveSync is the premier collaboration app from HTC Vive, and it's for greater productivity and engagement. 7 key pillars. The first is it's a starting point for your workday. You just show up in ViveSync and go about your business. It's real work environments. It's not, it doesn't look like a video game. It's not fanciful. It's built for business. It's easy and intuitive to use, which we saw was a key aspect for 2D, but we've applied that to 3D. It works with your existing workflow, so it doesn't ask you to change your behaviors to work in VR. Rather, we've built the VR to enhance your existing behaviors, existing files that you use, storage mechanisms, et cetera, are all supported. We have security and privacy that we've worked on for years on the back end. We're a trusted, reliable partner. We've been a leader in this wave of VR over the last 6 years. And while the software is agnostic and will work with a range of headsets, if you do choose future HTC Vive headsets, it will work just beautifully, seamlessly, right out of the box. So this supports a wide range of applications, all types of different meetings, design reviews, brainstorming sessions. I've held board meetings in VR, and it's extremely effective. You really feel like you're there. So just a taste of some of the features, real business environments, whether they're like a board setting or they're a more social environment for more organic types of interactions. Really make it easy to set up meetings. You can do it right in VR, or you can send an Outlook invite and just click on a link. Intuitive UI, it just makes sense. You don't have to learn a new language or grammar of how you do things. You just get in and everything happens as you would expect it would. And we even support hand tracking, one of the most natural ways, of course, of humanly communicating. And importantly, it also supports 2D applications that I spoke about. So it's not an either or. If you're using 2D video conferencing, those people can actually interact with the people in VR in ViveSync and vice versa. And finally, cross-platform. It's a richer experience if you have a VR headset, but if you don't, or if you're just on the road and didn't bring it with you, you can still partake in these meetings through your desktop or your mobile device, so you're never left out of the action. So that's it. I wanted to bring to you today this picture of how you can work more effectively using VR and using ViveSync. So for more info, have a look at sync.vive.com. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it.
Hello, my name is Charlie Fink. Welcome to ViveCon and our panel on the new normal and technology's role as it has emerged in work, in remote work. So we have with us Claudia Ruiz Graham. Her company, Images Reality, does remote collaboration for the oil and gas industry, which of course is an industry that has many remote outposts and can benefit greatly from this technology. Hermes Fangudis from Agora, and David Whalen from Engage, a good friend of mine whose product I use all the time, and Devin Copley, who has he and his other alumni from Nokia who worked on the 3D camera there, on the 360 camera, have taken that expertise into the world of remote collaboration and allow large groups to visit factories and places far away together in VR. So it's an exciting group of people. I think we've all got great, interesting perspectives on what's happening in the world as we emerge into the new normal. Unfortunately, a big bell didn't ring and say, okay, everybody can go back to normal. We're sort of gradually feeling our way out of this. I just went back to teaching in the real yesterday, and you know, it wasn't really better. So how's that for a weird reflection to start off this conference? So Claudia, can you tell us a little bit about your company and how you guys are faring these days?
Sure. Thank you, Charlie. So I'm the founder of Image Reality. I have about 20 years of experience in the oil industry, and I started my company, Image Reality, about 4 years ago. What do? We bring the field to the office or the classroom in virtual reality or desktop, helping to connect expertise not only in the oil and gas, but also in geoscience, mining, engineering, and academia. Our platform is an enterprise platform, enables real-time remote collaboration, decision-making, and immersive learning in the virtual 3D space. Users in different locations can connect. You can get together multidisciplinary teams, enhancing decision-making and actually attending real field trips. We can integrate data all the way from kilometer scale to microscopic scale, enhancing decision-making. We're currently working with companies and universities in the US and Europe, and we're also looking to expand in the Middle East, Latin America, and the Asian markets. So what we have seen with our technology is more people are connecting in virtual field trips, what we are currently delivering.
That's great, thank you. Hermes, can you tell us a little bit about Agora and what's happening with your company today?
Sure. Thank you, Charlie. My name is Hermes Fangudis, and I'm with Agora. We are the leading real-time engagement platform. We make real-time engagement, meaning voice, video, messaging, ubiquitous for everyone to interact with. So Agora empowers developers to build real-time engagement apps using APIs and SDKs, and we allow users to connect on all platforms. The backbone of Agora's service is our software-defined real-time network. The network is a global network of 200 data centers optimized for the delivery of voice and video globally, allowing 17 plus users to connect on a video chat or up to 1 million viewers in a single live stream. Agora is here to empower the future of real-time communication across all platforms.
Wow. David, thanks for joining us at ViveCon. Good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you again, Charlie, and welcome back to Engage. So I'm the CEO of VR Education Holdings and the team behind the Engage platform, and its original design was for education and training and development, but COVID-19 has obviously presented huge opportunities where we're seeing a lot of uptake in remote work, remote collaboration, remote events as well, such as ViveCon, this event. In my own business, it has been completely transformative over the past 12 months, where Ireland is still in very heavy lockdown. I haven't seen any of my physical staff in over a year, yet we meet on a daily basis inside the platform. We hold our daily stand-ups, our Kanban board meetings. We actually hold events inside as well. Even our Christmas party was held inside Engage, and we had the Chemical Brothers host a gig. So it is quite a strange universe, and I do believe that we're never going back to the way we were pre-COVID.
I think you're probably right about that. And again, congratulations on the success that you guys have found. You had good momentum, and of course this accelerated everything. And Engage has so many features that I use as an educator, and I also can obviously see its applicability to enterprises seeking training solutions.
Thanks very much.
Devin, great to see you. And from what I understand, your solution is also being rapidly adopted. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, thanks, Charlie. It's been a pretty amazing year for us. Avatur is the remote collaboration platform for site meetings. Basically, when all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Zoom is a hammer. Zoom is a great tool to replace a conference room meeting, but not every meeting happens in conference rooms. A lot happen on site, whether it's inspections or walkthroughs or site-specific training. These meetings require the context of a location. And with COVID, a lot of people have been trying to use standard video conferencing for these meetings, but video conferencing is just the wrong tool for the job. It was designed for faces, not spaces. Businesses need a better way to do this, to visit a real place in real time. And that's what we built with Avatur. It's a SaaS platform that uses off-the-shelf hardware, 360 cameras, to capture the real space in real time, and then allow remote users to join that space, whether in a browser or in a VR headset, so that they can witness the space in real time, talk to the people on site, look around in any direction, and collaborate and get the job done. And when you use the VR headset, it's downright magical. You feel like you're standing there next to somebody. You can draw on the world with our annotation tools, and you can do the sort of things that you would like to be able to do if you could be there in person. The question of the panel of can we get back to or will we return to normal? I think it'll be influenced by the kinds of tools that we have, and these tools that we have on the panel. It's a great set of representations. Are enabling new sorts of substitutions that just weren't possible a couple of years ago, or at least people weren't aware of. I think the big benefit of COVID, certainly it's been enormously damaging in so many ways, but the benefit has been in part for us to understand what these other options are that we can then use as we come back to a more normal situation.
Well, certainly we won't be traveling as much as we used to, as you say, especially because there's so many better tools that we've become aware of and have been developed, right? I mean, there was lots of development going on in this area, and obviously all of our work predates this. But everything, good and bad, it seems, is accelerated in a crisis. Certainly, Devin, you could not have launched your company at a better moment. You were right on the cusp of this happening. What I love about your system, and not to overly praise the panelists when you can easily praise yourselves, but what I love about your system is that there's human intelligence on the other end of the line, so that people inside of the simulation could say, Bob, I'd like to see that switch a little closer.
Yeah. I mean, and this was, we almost just sort of happened upon this notion because we initially experimented with like autonomous robots and things on the other side, but very quickly we realized that a meeting is a meeting. You come, like just the way it works in the real world, you're typically visiting a site in order to meet somebody who's there in order to accomplish a task. And the person who's there is way better than a robot as far as bringing you around and accomplishing what you would accomplish. So it wound up being a lot simpler, a lot easier to use, a lot cheaper, and a lot more effective than a sort of autonomous platform.
Claudia, I don't know much about the gas and oil industry, so I don't know what the original normal was. But obviously, you've been working on this project for years. So you started out recognizing a problem, and then what was your approach?
Yeah, that's correct. So I'm a geologist by background, and as a geologist, we go to the field to study rocks to help us understand what and predict the subsurface. And we might be exploring for oil and gas in the offshore of Angola, but similar rocks are exposed in places like California or South Africa or Ireland. So taking a team of geologists to those places, can cost about $100,000 for a single field trip, just for about 20 people, right? So And now with COVID, there is even put on much more restrictions to it. So that gave me the idea of, maybe we can put together virtual reality with drone technology, and that's how our platform was born. And now with the aim to connect expertise across the world. Shell, for example, has been using our platform. They actually did a real field trip for geologists to some outcrops in Texas. And then they repeated the field trip in virtual reality in our platform in 3D Gaia. And what was very interesting to see was how the virtual field trip enabled them to reach areas that they couldn't reach in real life, because you cannot jump off the cliff of a cliff, for example. But also the fact that you could integrate data at different scales. This enabled people to understand faster. And you could get engineers talking to geologists and arriving faster to decision making. So that's actually one of the great values of immersive technologies.
Is yours a cross-platform solution? Can somebody in a headset be interacting with somebody on a PC or perhaps another device?
At the moment, we have developed 3D Gaia both in desktop and in VR. In VR in the standalone headset and in PC VR. So the standalone headset and PC VR, they talk to each other. The desktop doesn't talk this yet to the VR solution, but this is coming up in a few months' time. And we see
sorry, Claudia, did you want to?
Yeah, no, thank you. So I was going to say, and we see this very important to enable more people connecting to the same platform, because not everybody has access to the same technologies.
I think that's exactly right. And Hermes, I wanted to take it over to you because I believe yours is a totally cross-platform solution. Am I right about that?
Correct. Agora is a little less refined, so to speak, than Avatar or some of the other projects here. But it's not in the sense that we're a consumer product. We're the SDK under the hood. So we could power any of these products that are here on stage, on the panel with me today. And what we're the infrastructure. So we try to make it as simple as possible to add, camera from the computer or the desktop or the mobile app into your VR space. And how do you bring in voice communication and that sort of thing to VR? That's where we really are powering, these companies.
David, you are doing what I think another interesting thing about what has happened with Engage is you do both collaboration with small teams, just working with a whiteboard, or interns being trained by doctors in larger groups in a classroom. But then you also have a business in making large scale, fully embodied VR conferences. So
Yeah.
tell us about the difference in the technology to do one versus the other.
So the technology is pretty similar for the different offerings. It's how you package it and how you market it. So when we originally developed Engage as an education tool, I said to the developers, we need to at least have 70 people in a classroom, have the teacher be able to do PowerPoint presentations, draw on a whiteboard, and bring in 3D models. And that was the core of what we started developing 4.5, 5 years ago. But all those features lend themselves very well to remote teams. So if you're going to a remote meeting and you're in a meeting room, you're doing whiteboard sessions, Kanban board sessions. So it's not a big jump from education to business meetings. And then it's not a big jump to events. So in events, what you see at events, you see corporate presentations, you communicate with others in a spatial way. And one of the things that we really offer that video communication can't offer, like Teams and Zoom, is that spatial audio where you can walk around in a virtual environment, have a private hallway conversation with somebody, and that's how business is done. So we're getting a lot of huge corporations, and we've just recently announced our 100th enterprise client on the platform this week. What we do on the platform is, or what we offer that's special, is that a lot of these huge corporations, as an example, like, so we have Facebook as one of our clients, HTC is an investee in the company, 20% stakeholder. They held events inside the platform. So a lot of these corporations have tried video conferences where they discovered that just watching PowerPoint after PowerPoint and leaving comments in a text window on the side, that's not true engagement with the community that you want to communicate with. You want people to attend an event and have that private hallway conversation, because that's where 80% of business is done. It's not going watching a presentation. It's the off chance you meet someone and go, hey, what are you doing? That's very interesting. Here's my business card. Let's communicate after. And that's how business is done. And that's why we're booming at the moment.
Can you share with us, when you say you're booming, what were things like before last March versus today?
So we're currently on a 500% revenue and user base trajectory increase this year, and it's only accelerating. So that's how drastic this COVID effect has been. Yes, it was very quiet when COVID hit originally. Everybody who needed a video communications platform, they all jumped on Zoom or Teams. After 3 or 4 months, they found it wasn't really working, especially for their larger collaboration groups, and they looked for alternatives. And then they're finding platforms like Engage and ViveSync, which I know was talked about previously.
ViveSync, I should say Vive has a suite of enterprise collaboration platforms, which includes their own PC-based VR collaboration platform called Sync. But David's company has a similar product, which is being used in similar ways. And, David, it's interesting just comparing Sync to Engage. It seems like there are kind of table stakes in this game, right? There are things that you have to be a enterprise collaboration tool, whether you're, and there's so many now. I think last time we counted, there were 40 legit, cross-platform, up to probably a dozen, if not 2 dozen, simultaneous, fully embodied uniques. It seems like you have to have whiteboarding. What are the other things that you feel are the have-to-haves?
Well, I think everybody in all those platforms, they're very similar. So they all do PowerPoint presentations really well. Right. They all do spatial audio very well. They all do whiteboards very well and sticky notes. We all have parity in that way. I think what really makes Engage stand out is the ability to create and share your own content. So with our spatial recording system, it's unique to us where you can record up to 70 people at the same time and replay that over again. And then you can edit that later with our Engage inbuilt editor.
The spatial recording quality is totally unique. I agree with that. It's very powerful.
Yeah, and then like a lot of the media stuff that we have in the platform as well, and with the update that we've just released where you can upload your own models and media files and stuff, it's a complete ecosystem that we're providing. I think as well, we're very trusted in this space. So we've been developing over 5 years, and we have a really strong range of clients, and having obviously the backing of HTC, and we're currently going for ISO certification as well. There is a lot of startups that have only started maybe a year or two ago, and you will see slight bugs and maybe instability in some of those platforms, where I think with Engage, because it is so long down the track, that yes, this is a usable platform right now, and that's why people really enjoy the experience.
What is ISO? Just for my own education, maybe someone else doesn't know either.
Yeah, so it's an industry security certification. So when we're dealing with these large corporations, normally what will happen if you don't have that certification, you get a 20-page document and you need to fill it in and go, what's all your security measures? Do you get
to be allowed to download your app onto their servers?
Yeah, exactly. And to make sure that their data is stored in an incorrect manner, a correct manner, so we do follow EU guidelines on GDPR compliance as well. And it gives a level of security. And I'm sure Agora as well has a lot of those issues addressed as well. We actually use Agora inside Engage as well as a premium service, where if we have a client.
I was just about to ask Hermes to talk about security.
Yeah, so we tell clients, look, if you want the best audio quality in Engage, and you want to make sure it's rock solid, you can switch on the Agora option, and they can use that for their event.
So Hermes, are you helping them with their audio quality or their security, or both?
So I'm not the solutions architect that's worked with David's team, but in general, we connect platforms that are across all major industries. So everything from education to gaming, and when it comes to powering so many different products for people, right? For companies that have built their business around these features, privacy has to be there. And Agora gives all of that to the developer. So if you want to turn on encryption. If you need GDPR compliance, you can set geofencing, and you can really control how your data is sent through the system, because Agora doesn't store any data at the end of the day. Once it goes from one user to the next, it's gone off our system. Like, there's certain metadata, obviously, that's held to understand the health of the system, but there's nothing user identifiable that we ever take into our system. And we leave that to companies such as David's to manage their data the way that they feel they need to.
So interesting question, Claudia and Devin. How is the security issue involved? How does your company deal with the security issue that enterprises demand?
Well, this is fundamental and has been a key part of our architecture. I come from my industry background, so I understand what are the requirements for enterprise. So we had to put a lot of work and effort into that. So we provide encrypted solutions with end-to-end communication through our cloud system. And as you work with these companies, you have to go through a lot of assurance process and making sure that you meet all the requirements. And as David was mentioning it. So that's a key part of our internal process. We have a very secure platform, and that's why we're able to provide enterprise quality service. Sorry, David, tell me you're going to say.
Devin, your company. Now I may be misunderstanding it, so help me out here. You guys have a system that's kind of outside the corporate system.
Oh, not necessarily.
Or how do you deal with the security issue?
Yeah. For our system, there's a variety of options depending on how a customer wants to deploy. Certainly we're employing encryption throughout the architecture in order to ensure the level of security that customers require. But the question about the specific network over which the audio and video streams travel is sometimes something that customers get concerned about, even though it's encrypted. There are, particularly sensitive industries that want to be able to do the delivery over their own VPNs. So we're able to support that. We've been developing a hybrid cloud model where we enable the audio and video streams to be segregated away from the open internet. So again, it's sort of an extra layer, it's sort of belt and suspenders for extremely sensitive applications where you don't even want encrypted data streams going over open internet. It also can sometimes provide performance improvements as well, where we can deliver higher bandwidth, lower latency over a dedicated network of some sort. So we try to accommodate our customers' needs. I will say that I think at the beginning of the pandemic, there was a willingness to move fast through some of these approval processes because there was a desperate need to have something. I think today, for the last couple of quarters now, we're seeing a reversion back to the more judicious process of having a proper IT review and doing everything by the book. And we're happy to accommodate that. I think it's an important part of gaining acceptance of these new tools at the enterprise level.
Is product acceptance an obstacle, Claudia? Are there people in the industry who don't want to accept new tools? Everybody see it, especially in the context of the pandemic, as, oh, there's a fix for this? Great, I want it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's very interesting because, geologists love to be on the field, right? And when you come and say, okay, you have a replacement for the field trip, there might be a yearning reaction, like, oh, you're not taking away my field trip. But actually, when people get to use the platform, the fact that you can do things that you cannot do in the real life, the fact that you can integrate your data in a very, very different way, and the fact that you can enable and scale your training throughout your organization, rather than taking 20 people to a field trip, you can take hundreds of people to different field trips in a shorter period of time. People see the value. And not only with the industry, but as well with universities. Right now there has been a lot of restrictions for universities to taking students to field trips very,
So
very
expensive.
difficult. Exactly. So, so we recently, for example, did a workshop for geologists and engineers in Nigeria with instructors located in Scotland and in England, and it just worked fantastically well. And everybody was excited. The students were excited about what they were able to achieve and on this collaborative platform.
David, I wonder if you could, you have a very, very big, traditionally big audience among educators. And many of your tools clearly were developed for us. And also, I get a pro version of Engage as an educator for $5 a month, which is pretty incredible. That's a lot of value. Obviously, corporate customers pay much more. So can you talk a little bit about the difference between educators and your corporate customers, and which is your largest group? Or maybe teachers are a larger group but not as lucrative? I don't know, but I'm interested in the dichotomy between those two businesses.
Yeah, so we've educational clients, we've enterprise clients, and we also have event clients, and they're pretty even, about 30% for each of those segments. But yes, the enterprise segment is definitely worth more in value than our education clients. So with the $5 a month account, you actually don't have access to everything, Charlie, but you have access to the core features for communication. You know, you wouldn't have the enterprise features where you can allocate licenses, upload your own models and stuff, but you have the majority of stuff that you need to host a single
I have
chat.
what I need, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. But the core thing behind what we build is, does it make people's lives easier? You know, so with COVID, again, everybody was forced to work online, work remotely, or be educated remotely. And especially as an educator, as you know, with teachers, if you have a classroom of 30 students and they're all on a video conference, half of them are going to turn off their camera, they're going to be looking at their phone, they're going to mute themselves.
It's irresistible.
It's crazy. And if you look up on YouTube, you just do like Zoom fails on YouTube, you'll see these Zoom links that were hacked in, and all kinds of weird, crazy stuff happens. So again, that's what comes back to what we do: is, do people trust the platform? So with these, with the metaverse that we're hearing a lot about over the past couple of months, you know, with these huge valuations, and they're doing fantastically well. It's a free for all. So if you go into Rec Room, if you go into Allspace, you go into VR Chat, you could be standing next to a professor in a moment, and next you could be standing next to a 12-year-old who's screaming abuse at you. You know, you really just don't know, which is, I like that. But inside Engage, it's very different, where we have a more corporate client base. It is more secure, and that's why people use us and trust us for events as well, where even the dress code for the avatars, it's very, very simple, where if you're in another platform, you could be standing next to an avatar who's half naked wearing a furry hat, but inside Engage, you know, you're going to be standing next to somebody who's going to be in a fairly corporate dress, you know, because we tailor the events to have a certain dress code as well. So you really have to review your clients and make sure that it's tailored to that base. Like, we started off originally as, yes, we're focused on educators, but we always had the idea, okay, we'll work into corporates then, because we thought educators would be an easier sell. And the way we thought educators are an easier sell in the beginning is, when I was a student going to school in Ireland in the mid-80s, personal computers first came into the classroom, and they were sitting there collecting dust for a long time because the educators were afraid to touch them. But the people of my age now are the teachers of today and the professors of today, who are used to the new rapid adoption of technology. And we thought, actually, this is the core base that we want to get into. And once we get the educators on board and the kids using VR, it's going to work its way into industry. But that real beginning of VR working in the industry in a big way really kicked off with COVID.
Yeah, the issue with education, particularly secondary education, is curriculum integration. Once you overcome resistance at the local level, is there a teacher who's willing to do it? The teacher still is constrained by, okay, I can go on a field trip, but I have to do things, spend time on topics that are related to the lesson plan or the educational goals of the larger school district, whereas university professors like me have a lot of latitude.
Yeah.
Like, nobody's checking up my lesson plan. If it's about VR or AR, I'm good.
Yeah, well, I think as Claudia said, we're giving people experiences they can't get in real life, so they can do that field trip in a school. We also link in with YouTube, so you can stream in any YouTube 360 video to engage in a multi-room
with a group watching it together, which is amazing.
Yeah, and like there's so much content there, that we don't have to develop. We're just a tool. We're like Agora. We're a tool, but we're more a public-facing tool, whereas Agora is definitely the meat and bones behind a lot of platforms that will provide the services to make sure that you can build the tools for our customers.
So here's a question for everybody. This is more of a UX or user experience question. Avatars, important or not important? Devin, what do you think?
I think for our application, it's a bit of a dilemma, to be honest. We actually we allow users to turn off avatars. The problem is in our application they block the world, and the world is really important. Like that's the point. We're capturing a real world space, and you want to be able to see it. So if it's just one other person, that's fine. But we now support up to 20, and once you have 20 avatars floating around your space, they tend to block important things. So it is a bit of a challenge. It's really useful to be able to see the gestures. That's such a huge part of collaboration. And we love that, but by the same token, in our application anyway, there's a cost because we're blocking the world, which is the reason that we're there. So we do see our users turning off avatars, not infrequently, because the focus of their meetings often is looking at things in the space and dealing with things in space. But I think our application is a little unusual in that regard.
I think that's great though that you enable the user to control whether the avatar is on or off, because
it's on a per user basis. Yeah, so
somebody can say to the team, let's turn our avatars off for now, and then at the end come back as avatars.
Yeah.
Claudia, what same question to you about avatars? I assume there are avatars in your system. How does it work?
We do. We have some very simple avatars. Like for us, the way we design our platform, we want it to be as real as the actual world. So for us, it was important that we were able to visualize the outcrop models, the terrain models in a large detail, in a high resolution, that we were able to integrate different data sets, and that we were able to talk to each other like if we were on the field. We have a bunch of geologists talking and discussing it. The only thing we were not able to reproduce was the glass of beer at the end of the day. But the avatar itself for us was more important to be able to make observations on the object that we have in front of us, rather than seeing the people around us. So for us,
so that's 3D drawing and annotation. 3D drawing and annotation.
3D drawing, annotation, but also being able exactly to annotate the terrain models, the outcrop models, right? Or the images or the videos, etc., etc. But for us also being able to collaborate and talk to others and know where they are standing. So we have very simple avatars that people can turn and off, but the main thing is the object in front of us. And actually, something that we introduced was something called a gather tool that enables you to gather your students or your participants to your viewpoint. So you see their avatars coming to you, but these are just smiley faces, because we just want, the focus to be in the scene that you are looking at. And that has worked quite well.
Hermes, I don't want to leave you out of this conversation about avatars, but I don't know if they're relevant to Agora.
Well, it's not just Agora. We've seen, we power a number of tools that use avatars and even tools that don't represent people in 3D. And what we've come to realize is, presence is important in some way, shape, or form, whether it's a full-on 3D or having just like a little icon with your name or something on it to show that you're there. But presence is important in the digital world, and Agora really leaves that up to the user to figure out how to do that.
Yeah, I have a very specific point of view about presence, right? Because you can be present in a 360 video and have no agency. And one of the things that, again, not to, poor David, I know his platform the best, but even when you're watching a 360 video in Engage, it's different than watching a 360 video elsewhere because you still have some agency. So engagement and immersion alone are not really enough. You need to have some agency. For example, in Avatar, even though avatars aren't that important, people can still use it as a verbal audio communication platform with the person who is on location. So, they managed to provide agency, even though it's only agency with your voice. But in Engage, we have fully blown, fully embodied avatars. I think the only thing the avatars, so you can high five somebody and your controller will vibrate. The one thing we can't do with fully embodied avatars yet is eye contact.
That's
Are you
coming.
working on that, David? When are we going to see that integrated? Because I think that would be kind of a game changer for the platforms that use embodied avatars.
Yes, thankfully, working with our partners at HTC, eye tracking is coming and facial tracking is coming as well. So you're going to get very, very detailed avatars. And I cause my developers all types of heartache when I'm saying to them, we need the legs on the avatar. So there's loads of platforms out there and they're like ghosts, so you see the body from up above and they don't have any legs and they float around the place and they work to a certain extent. But when you're inside a platform in a very deep conversation and collaboration, you want people to forget they're actually in VR, and when you look down and they've no legs, instantly you're back. This is a VR experience. But thankfully, with the hardware that HTC are working on, they are coming out with eye tracking. We've seen facial tracking implementation as well. We're working hard in the background to make sure that the next iteration of our avatar system is going to utilize all these features. And when you see the MetaHuman demos, they're hugely impressive. Like, we can't wait to integrate.
So this is the Epic Games platform, right?
Yeah.
Or I should say the Unreal Engine platform.
Unreal Engine
creation, yeah.
Yeah, so they look as real as anybody else. Now, our current system, you can take a selfie and it will build the avatar based on your image, so it looks exactly like you, but you can still tell it's not exactly right. But these metahumans, they're very hard to tell from the real world. Now, it takes a lot of processing power at the moment, but what we're doing on PC today is going to be available on standalone headsets in the next 3 to 5 years.
Quite amazing, and I look forward to it. Of course, when we talk about the Unreal Engine metaverse creator, or I should say the avatar creator, that is quite realistic, it presages this notion of a metaverse, meaning that we could go from Engage onto another platform, whether it's an industrial platform like Images Reality, or whether it is an entertainment platform, and carry our avatar with us, right? And just like that Ready Player One notion that the avatar has a backpack and the backpack has currency in it, and maybe it has different outfits for our avatar. So maybe I want to be in a more playful avatar when I'm in VR chat, but be in a more business-like avatar when I'm visiting Engage. So I think that is going to have over the next, I don't think it's going to manifest that quickly because people don't like to share their platforms with other players. But I think
that's what I was going to point out. I mean, I think there's a real fragmentation happening in that space, and it's unfortunate. I want to put a little plug in for a company that we work with that I think is doing a great job, which is Ready Player Me. They have a portable avatar system that's being employed by a bunch of companies in the space. They have very open licensing terms, and we're very happy to be working with them. It's a great system, and I'd love to see it more widely adopted in the industry, rather than having this sort of fragmentation led by the major platforms. No offense to HTC, which we love, but I think having an independent company who doesn't have a hardware loyalty creating the avatar system is best for everyone in the industry.
That's a great point, because Ready Player Me allows you on the web to create not an unrealistic likeness of yourself. They match you up pretty well based on your social media, and you can take that into VR chat, which I guess is the easiest right now. But presumably, if you could take that onto a number of platforms, you start to at least simulate what it would be like in a metaverse to have one shared avatar.
Well, it works in Avatar now. So if you create your avatar in VR chat, you can import it directly, which is nice.
That's great. So as you can see, I have my friend. He's my timer. He's my timer. So, any parting thoughts for us, Hermes? We're just about out of time, but I'd love to give you guys a chance to bring up anything you think we missed here in the past 45 minutes.
I think the one thing, Agora has always had this belief in voice, video, real-time communication being ubiquitous within, the future. As we move our lives into the digital world, everything is going to continue to propel in that. So even as the world opens up, we're going to see platforms that allow this remote collaboration continue to flourish because people love these options. One day I want to be live in Cairo, but if the next day I got to be in Antarctica, I'm not going to be able to fly there. So I need to have that digital option. And we're here to power that. We're here to help everyone, whether they're in VR or desktop or web. So I'm excited for the AR, VR future.
I think that's a great place to end this. There's, over 40 sites out there providing these tools. Engage and ViveSync are among the leaders. But, this is still the beginning of the beginning. And the paradigm's not settled yet. We don't know the role of AR in this. Those devices have not really landed yet. And certainly there's going to be a hybrid model developing. So I think the industry has a lot of exciting developments ahead, and I think HTC is certainly one of the leading supporters of all of us. So thanks to HTC for having us today. Enjoy the rest of ViveCon. I'm Charlie Fink, and that's what we got. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.